There's always a reason to smile. There's always a reason to laugh, right? And sometimes we have to look for it, and sometimes it's right there in front of us and our eyes are closed to it. Some years ago, Devika introduced me to World Laughter Day. Do you remember that? That was like 10 years ago. And it was first observed in India, which I assume is why Devika knew about it, back in 1988. And then there was a man, ooh, it's going to be a good morning, a man by the name of Wilson that brought that event here to North America. And the first USA celebration was in May of 2001, and he brought it to New York City. Well, each year after that, different events have been held across the U.S. and around the world, by the way. And it coincides with that interest we have, I hope all of us have, in that laughter therapy and the amazing power that laughter possesses. That is the idea behind it. Wilson said this: regardless of the reason you laugh, the primary purpose of laughter has to do with reducing the effects of stress and connecting with other people. Laughter plays a huge role in maintaining relationships, and actually we need laughter more now than ever, and I would concur. How about you? We need to find the humor in life because it is there, and we feel better, we feel lighter. And Nathan shared a whole lot of that in that reading at the beginning. So the purpose of starting this organization was they found that the world was so out of balance that it and we need to lighten up, to laugh more, and to laugh more to maintain perspective on what's happening in our life and what's going around in the world. So World Laughter Day, which was actually the 1st of May, is to send a message to people to get them laughing more, to urge the whole world to lighten up just a little bit. Wouldn't that be nice? So Wilson also said this: systematic exposure to true mirthful laughter in a supportive environment can contribute to world peace by fostering attitudinal healing. Laughing, he said, is the birthright of humanity, and human living requires daily bouts of good, hearty laughter. And I love that, and that's why I chose to show that video, because we can look at everyday things and find them funny, right? Mm-hmm. Those animals, those babies, those children, I mean, how sweet. He contends that laughter is a way to balance and integrate mind, body, spirit, which is what we talk about here all the time, and to do so in a healthy way. It's a great high, laughing. The combination of doing those physical, they use it for physical health benefits, as Nathan had talked about. And it's a simple practice for mental health, for good-hearted living, is what he talks about. And that combination leads to less stress, more compassion, less anger, increased peace of mind, and a much greater joy. It's really hard to be angry and frustrated and unhappy when you're laughing and you're sharing that moment with somebody. And I would have to say that I agree with him wholeheartedly when he said it's what the world needs right now, especially those who are feeling that stress, threat of war, threat of terrorism, and general uncertainty about life. And I know that many people have those concerns and have those fears. So can we look at it? Can we smile? Can we know that all is in divine order? And can we laugh at some things that are silly? It does help. Laughter is the best medicine. How many times have we heard that? Over and over and over again. And for years, for decades actually, researchers have, explored how humor does help patients relieve stress, help to heal themselves. And it really does work. A professor of communication studies in Buffalo, New York, was really curious how medical professionals would cope with their difficult jobs. Specifically, she wondered how healthcare providers would care for terminally ill patients and still return to work day after day after day. So what she found out when she asked, how do you do it? How do you get through that? How do you, day to day? You know what they said? Humor. Humor. It lightens us up. Now, even if you don't consider yourself to be particularly funny, you can find ways to integrate humor into your day-to-day life. We can change our communication patterns. For instance, making light of yourself is a real effective form of humor, as long as you don't overdo, right? As long as you're not putting yourself down excessively. Telling a joke is just one single form of humor communication. And again, daily life is very funny if we would just open our eyes and look at it, right? Change our perception just a wee bit. So, next time you see a baby and that baby starts laughing, watch. That whole body shakes, right? It just, it's so excited. They laugh with their whole body. Spit goes flying, the eyes are rolling, the nose is leaking, right? And it's cute, it's fun to watch. Have you ever started to maybe shake somebody's hand or give them a high five and you realize, uh-oh, ain't gonna happen, right? So you slowly move your arm down or whatever, so you don't look silly. Laugh at it, it's funny, right? It is funny, it doesn't have to be embarrassing, it's just a thing in life. My particular favorite moment, when I can really laugh at myself, is when I feel personally victimized by an inanimate object. Anybody have that? My cell phone. Darn thing won't find the Wi-Fi signal. It hates me. It's being inflexible, right? It's all about me at that point. Or when my printer jams. It's simply because it's holding a grudge against me because I wasn't real gentle with it the other day. It's made a conscious decision to make my life more difficult. Yes, it has. Technology doesn't just stop working, does it? It does it on purpose. Don't we feel that way? It's funny. And after I go through my little spiel, right, then I have to laugh at myself and go, oh my God, right? Or why is it when someone tells us there's 1 billion stars in the sky, we believe them, and that wet paint sign, right? We have to touch it just to make sure it's really wet paint. Don't we do that? These are funny things. How often have you done it? I know I've done it, and then I'm annoyed because I have paint on my hands, right? We do funny, silly things like that. When I was a kid, there are 5 of us kids in my family. And so we went camping, and it started to rain. And so my dad said, all right, everyone get in the tent. So we all 7 of us got in the tent. And my dad said, whatever you do, don't touch the tent because it will leak. The rain will come through. What happened? 10 little hands immediately, right? Now my parents were annoyed because now it's leaking, but we had to know. Those things are funny. Not then. My parents didn't laugh so hard, but we thought it was funny. Life is full of joy, and laughter is truly, truly contagious. Research shows that humor can significantly increase a person's level of hope. It can be a legitimate strategy for relieving and eliminating that stress that we might be feeling and just a general sense of well-being. Studies have shown that as high as 94% of people deem lightheartedness as a necessary factor in dealing with difficulties associated with stressful life events. I don't know what it is about us being human. We feel like we can either be happy or stressed, right? And it's not the truth. If we're in a stressful mode, it's really hard to shift over to that funny, to that laughter, because we feel kind of guilty about it. And there's no need. Let's use that laughter to relieve that stress. Research also tells us that when a child is presented with new experiences, that new experience is most often incorporated into their new belief system and their attitudes. Wow, as adults, we have a powerful influence over what our children do, see, hear, and feel. So let's teach them to take life a little less seriously, to enjoy life much more often. Do you ever remember waking up as a young child and going, oh, I wonder what today's going to bring, right? What happened to that enthusiasm, that playfulness? When did we lose it? When did we let go of that? We become way too serious as adult people. And, I'm not saying life isn't serious. There are some issues. We're here to enjoy. We get one go around. Let's have fun. Let's laugh. Let's enjoy. And by cultivating that childlike curiosity and that love for life, that amazing dynamic of excitement is once again created between our inner and our outer selves. When Irma Bombeck was diagnosed with a life-threatening illness, she wrote this poem, If I Had to Live My Life Over. And I think we can all learn something from it before we get a life-threatening illness, or before we leave this beautiful earth plane. If I had to live my life over, I would have talked less and listened more. I would have invited friends over to dinner, even if the carpet was stained and the sofa faded. I would have eaten the popcorn in the good living room and worried much less about the dirt when someone wanted to light a fire in the fireplace. I would have taken the time to listen to my grandfather ramble about his youth. I would have never insisted the car windows be rolled up on a summer day because my hair had just been teased and sprayed. I would have burned the pink candle sculpted like a rose before it melted in storage. I would have sat on the lawn with my children and not worried about grass stains. I would have cried and laughed less while watching TV and more while watching life. I would have shared more of the responsibility carried by my husband. I would have gone to bed when I was sick, instead of pretending the earth would go into a holding pattern if I weren't there for the day. I would never have bought anything just because it was practical, wouldn't soil, or was guaranteed for a lifetime. Instead of wishing away 9 months of pregnancy, I'd have cherished every moment and realized that the wonderment growing inside me was the only chance in life to assist God in a miracle. When my kids kissed me impetuously, I would never have said later, now go wash up for dinner. There would have been more I love yous, more I'm sorries. Mostly, given another shot at life, I would seize every minute, look at it, really see it, live it, and never give it back. And I think that we can all learn so much from that. And that's the way we want to live our life, right? Present moment awareness. Be here now. Be with joy. Be with gratitude. If we take a playful approach to our life process, and our day-to-day concerns will become easier and easier to handle if we stay here, if we do it with joy. We'll hold far less resistance than if we look at our life situations as problems or as things that need to be fixed. Instead, let's be grateful for what is. Smile at things, even though it could be a little rough. because then we can make a different choice in a situation if it calls for it. And always the key to living lighter hinges upon our ability to release resistance. And laughter does that every time. The more playful we are, the less resistance we can hold on to. And here's a simple truth that we all know. The more positive aspects that we look for, the more we'll find. And in turn, we'll continue to look for even more. And we'll be feeling like $1,000,000.
So I came across this Yiddish proverb which says that what soap is to the body, laughter is to the soul. And I really like that because when we laugh, when we smile, we can take a very difficult situation and completely turn it around. It doesn't change the situation itself. And as I was thinking about the laughter being good for you and all that, I thought back to a lot of the times in my life when things were very stressful, things were very tense. And a lot of you know me, I'm kind of a tense person. I laugh and smile a lot more here than I ever did before, but I'm more on the serious side. And I always took pride in that. I took pride in the fact that I didn't laugh that much. And over the years, I've actually found that laughing really does help. It changes the dynamics of the moment that we're in. You can be in the middle of an argument with somebody, and the silliest thought will come to your mind, and if you integrate that into the argument, it's going to diffuse it. It's not going to solve the problem, but it's going to diffuse it, and then now you have a clear head because you're not constantly going at that same thing again. I grew up in a household where everybody was always laughing and joking, and sometimes the humor was at the expense. And I wasn't really all that thrilled with that concept, so I developed this, what I called a very dry sense of humor. Most people don't get it. The important thing is I do. See, it doesn't matter if anybody else doesn't get it. The important thing is that I do. And I remember when my mother passed away, we had her cremated. And as you can imagine, I was not in a good place. And I completely embarrassed my sister when we went to take care of the arrangements, when we went to pick up the ashes. Because one of the things that my mother always was trying to do was lose weight. Always. Oh no. So I picked up it wasn't an urn, it was a box. And I thought, wow, this is really light. And the director said, well, yeah, it's about 8 pounds something. I don't remember what it was. And I dead straight on, no smile or anything. I said, well, she always wanted to lose weight. I don't think to this day my sister has forgiven me for that. But it really took that moment that was very difficult, and it interjected that moment of lightheartedness into it and reminded me that that was who she was. She was funny. She would have really enjoyed that. What I find really works for me is surrounding myself with people who like to laugh. Where I may not be personally very funny, if I'm around people that are funny or that like to laugh, that laughter is contagious. It actually, you can't help but at least chuckle. And the longer a laugh goes on, the stronger it gets. And like in that reading, it said it's a full body exercise. And I don't know about you, but there have been times in my life where I have laughed so hard and so long that my stomach hurt for days. It was much better than sitting down on the ground and doing crunches. So when you think of it even in those terms, it's really, really good for your body. And like Reverend Donnell said, it's important to find a reason to laugh every day. There is something to laugh at. One of the things, and I know I talk about my mother a lot, but she really taught me a lot of this sense of humor. Many years ago, Gary, my mother, and I were in the grocery store. See, Gary's already starting to laugh. And we had to buy some eggs. Nothing really particularly funny about that, right? So we go up, we get the eggs, and it was always a habit of ours to check and make sure there were none that were broken. I think most of us can relate to that. So I'm opening up the carton of eggs and looking at it, and my mother says, well, smell them to see if they're okay. What did I do? I smelled them. And then didn't really understand why I was doing it. Meanwhile, my mother and Gary were dying laughing in the grocery store. That memory, whenever I am feeling really, really low, I will think about that one. I will honestly go back to it and I will start laughing. So I don't need somebody to actually tell me a joke. I can take those memories that are funny. And when you think about them and you think about how ridiculous the situation was, you're gonna start laughing. Much like the time that Gary and I something about me in stores. We were in, I think it was Big Lots, either Big Lots or a dollar store, I don't remember which. And Reverend Danelle had just done a talk about embracing your inner child and being playful. So we're walking down the aisles, and anybody familiar with those pinwheels that when you blow them, they spin? Mm-hmm. So they had some of these. No clue what got into me, but I picked up one and started twirling around in the aisle to get it going, which was embarrassing on its own. However, when I stopped, there was a woman standing right next to me, and she was smiling and laughing. So these are those moments, whether it's you do them yourselves or you're with somebody else, you think back to your family, to your children, to your coworkers, and you think about what can bring you to laugh. Because no matter how bad things are, and there are some very serious situations in the world. Let's face it, there's serious situations that are going on in our lives. There are times of the month where I look at my bank account and I'm like, I have no clue how I'm going to make it to the next paycheck. And I could get into a funk, I can get all upset about it, or I can find something to laugh about. And it's that laughter that gets us through those moments. Like I said, it doesn't fix it. And yet sometimes it actually does, because through that laughter, you get clarity. And when we can take that moment to laugh at ourselves and to laugh with others, it also reminds us that none of us are perfect and that we all have room to grow. And it actually brings us closer as a people, not further apart. When we make fun of people, that's completely different. So I'm not talking about making fun of, but when we laugh with each other and we truly embrace that idea that smiling and laughing is contagious. In my office, very contagious. When things are the most stressful, two of my coworkers and I, we do the most ridiculous, silly things in the world just to get each other laughing. If we can start laughing, we can make it through until 5 o'clock. And that's always our goal there. So what laughter does is it helps us transcend ourselves. And too often, I definitely take myself too seriously. And there's a danger in entertaining ourselves and our beliefs in our life too seriously. It seems to me that fanatics see nothing as funny. And here's a suggestion. Next time you're in the middle of that argument, start laughing. Not in a sarcastic tone, just start laughing. Then see if the anger begins to melt away, and if you can find a more creative way to handle things. If I can laugh with you in my mistakes, as well as in yours, it suggests that we are all flawed and imperfect. Embracing good-natured humor, we can find the humanity to see the foolishness of trying to be perfect and the gift of enjoying smiles and laughter and love. So here are 5 things to ensure you smile and laugh. Be around folks that do it. Smile a lot. Practice doing both. Tell clean jokes. And keep funny pictures around. And simply remember those funny moments in your life, and that laughter will come. And when the laughter comes to you, share it with others. Thank you.